I need a new laptop. The problem is it needs to be small, customizable, and Linux friendly. I was super excited when Framework announced the Framework 12 laptop. It hit all these notes easily, but I didn't expect for the installation to go the way that it did. And I didn't expect to find pretty much the best OS for this laptop. Let's unbox this thing. All right, excited to get started here. This is my first Framework device in general, so excited to see what we have in here. Right off the bat, we have the keyboard. Nice packaging overall, visually pleasing, that's for sure. All right, so we have the 1TB NVMe storage for the operating system, of course. A little package. I believe there are stickers in this one. Ooh, 32 gigs, that's super important, of memory. Got power brick, some power cables, nothing too fancy there. And we got some accessories. We have 1TB of storage, some more storage, HDMI, SD expansion cards, and 2 USB-Cs. Yep. More the better. And supposedly the only tool we'll need to assemble this laptop. And there it is. There's the little boy, I should say. Very nice packaging in this box. You can tell that Framework took their time. Every detail mattered. Super nice and clean when you get that new device, huh? And there it is. There are the internals. You get the gorgeous insides of a laptop or a computer in general. Again, like I mentioned, this is the first time I've ever done this. I've built computers in the past, so I'm fairly comfortable with it. But this is something new. This is something completely different. First up is the RAM. One stick of 32 gigs. I say I didn't instructions. There's some available if you scan the QR code and you basically do a little bit of reading. I wish I had more to show you, but it just pops in and closes right away. Super easy. And I love how magnetic it is. That is so cool. Something I wasn't expecting. Now onto the NVMe drive. Such a tiny, tiny thing. It holds so much power, so much data. Here I'm just figuring out the alignment, make sure it goes in nice and safe. Again, just pops in, super easy. And finally, the keyboard. They really made the keyboard box fancy, huh? Just figuring out the placements and the alignment. Again, so many magnets here to help with guidance. Super useful, super cool. Not something I expected. I love to see it though. And that's it. Laptop assembled. Time to screw in the pieces, make sure it's nice and tight, and on we go to the accessories. This is part of the composability that I was talking about, which is awesome. Not only can you upgrade the internals, you can also add expansions to it, right? First up, USB-C, nice, easy, slide it in. And the same goes for all the other accessories. Saving HDMI for later when it's actually needed. I do want to call out this laptop is not cheap. I did end up paying $13.50 for it, around there, which could be a tough pill to swallow given that it's an Intel i5 processor. But I think supporting the openness that Framework provides and potential future upgrades is well worth it. I think so, at least. Installation, as you saw, was straightforward. Another quick shout out to those magnets. They are phenomenal. It makes installation so much easier. One thing I forgot to mention, it folds. It folds like a tablet. Super cool. There's no stylus for it yet, at least not from Framework. There should be one coming soon, but I believe any stylus should work for this thing. Supposedly the stylus will be released soon. If that's something you're interested in to learn more about, subscribe. So this video is about the Framework 12, but let's sidetrack a little bit here, right? I want to talk about Project Bluefin, an amazing open source Fedora-based Linux operating system by a community of cloud developers. It's based on Silverblue from Fedora and looks very similar, but it feels very different. It's an immutable operating system. Basically high level, the file system doesn't change much. Most of the applications are run in self-contained directories or containers. And it helps a lot that Framework and Project Bluefin have a nice relationship working together. The developers use frameworks, so you know it's going to be working really well right out of the box. Bluefin is definitely opinionated with its setup. With new users and developers in mind, I think they nailed it. GNOME works as expected, and the seamless integration with containers is incredible. Being able to use a system terminal and automatically launch containers is pretty slick. I know it's not solving anything too crazy. You can just, after all, just Docker exec right into the container you're interested in. But this seamless integration feels so polished. On the other hand, and again, I might be outdated here, running something like Visual Studio Code in a container isn't something I'm used to. In this example, VS Code runs just as it would in any other operating system, but it's freaking in the container. That's black magic to me. I still haven't figured out how they did that. So I'm speaking highly of Bluefin, and rightfully so. I'm very impressed, but I know me. This feels like a honeymoon phase. I'll be interested to see where I'm at in a couple weeks after using it and seeing if this immutability future we might experience gets in the way. I love to learn new things like this, but at the same time, I'd rather be building and making than configuring computers. It would be back to Fedora for me in that case. We'll see. Back to that laptop. I love how this thing feels in my hands. It looks slick and just the perfect size to carry around with ease. After I started using it for a couple of days, the laptop just blends in the background and it's always getting out of my way. It feels like any other normal device, and I think that's a good thing. Plus, the potential for future extensibility is always there. Big thumbs up for me, especially if you can justify the cost for the power you're getting. Very excited to see how Bluefin plays out. All right, later.